Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. I'm Rich Tehrani. Thanks for joining us. We're at the Cloud Expo at the Jacob Javits Center in Manhattan. Today on our program is Greg O'Connor with Appzero. And Greg, how are you?
Very good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Can you give us a little overview of your company?
Sure. I'm President and CEO of Appzero. Appzero, we do what's called server-side application virtualization. So a lot of words, but the benefits are really clear. And the benefits are basically the app can now become mobile, so you can move the application from one machine to another. Or really, what's key at Cloud Expo is to move your app from the data center to the cloud.
Okay.
Another benefit is we're sort of hypervisors for the application. So the benefits you see from a hypervisor is basically you consolidate the hardware, so you can run multiple apps on one piece of hardware. And with us, you can run multiple apps on one piece of software, so you can squeeze out kind of the OS and software infrastructure component and save dramatically there. So for example, if you run 5 apps on top of one Windows operating system, you give Microsoft basically 80% less revenue. I mean,
Right.
less cost.
Sure.
So those are really the two big benefits of what customers are doing with server-side applications.
Now, does there need to be a specific kind of software or operating system or programming language used?
So the applications, one of the good things is you don't have to change the application. And what you can do is install the application, and we can capture that, and then we bundle it up in what we call a virtual application appliance. Or if it's already installed, we can sort of scoop it up and take out the OS and bundle it up. So very easy to create a VA. You don't have to change the code. Whatever applications you have today, so for example, SAP, we can encapsulate and move SAP applications, again, from the data center to the cloud or to another cloud.
Now, what if they're just custom-written applications that span multiple servers?
So the methodology is to encapsulate applications per server, but certainly you can create a couple of them and then move them all together. So applications where they begin and where they end, as you know, they span multiple machines. But we give you really the grease for the cloud, the ability to move those servers. You got to move them all together, but we really separate the app from the OS and give you that mobility.
So a level of abstraction, so to speak.
Exactly. So hypervisors are the level of abstraction between the OS and the app, and we're a level of abstraction between the app and the OS. So same decoupling, just at a different layer.
And once you've done that, you now have applications that are potentially more scalable as well?
Certainly scalability, because now you can replicate them and provision them much easier than installing new copies, if you will. That the scale up, scale down, which is one of the characteristics of cloud computing, is you want to provision up and provision down, pay for what you use, is made much easier with our technology.
Now, can you give me a real-world example of how a customer has deployed your technologies to do something which is pretty amazing?
So we have a large bank in New York, and they built a private cloud, and they use hypervisors to provision up the hardware, right? And they use us to be able to provision the workload on top of that software. So they move the workload on top of the compute resource defined by the hypervisor, workload defined by us. And they get a lot more savings by not having to spend so much on the software infrastructure. They can utilize their data center or their private cloud much more efficiently by moving the workloads to the compute resource. A great example of that is, during the day you have front office applications. When people go home at night, now you can simply move your back office applications to those compute resources and have them run.
Okay, that's very interesting. Now, in terms of what you're seeing in the market, what are customers telling you in terms of new trends you've seen in the last couple of years?
So there's probably two big trends for us. One is people who are building private clouds, and whether that's the corporation themselves or managed service providers. And we have a tremendous cost saving. So IT and cloud now is really focused on how do you save money and how do you allocate and get what allocate and get the business to understand what it's paying for and what it's getting in return. So in those contexts, they're using our technology to add the next layer on top of the private clouds and be able to provision their apps. And then also there's a play for ISVs that by bundling up your application as a virtual application appliance, it's a whole new delivery model. So one of the problems for ISVs is when they give their application to their customer, the customer installs it, and sometimes that could be an error-prone process. They might have the wrong patch level, they might not go through the installation the correct way. With ours, the application's pre-installed, so the ISV knows there's no mess up in the delivery.
Right.
And for example, they often do, let's say, proof of concepts on a cloud. So they can deliver it on the cloud, it up and runs, the customer plays with the technology, puts data in it, they can now then drag that on premise and have it run within their data center. So
Right.
that mobility, that zero installation time, the removing the messy part of install, all comes together in a very compelling way for ISVs.
So what are you going to be doing next with the company?
So we're in the midst of announcing a 4.5 release, and the big feature there is this scoop and move technology. So scoop and move lowers the barrier for people to try out the technology, that you have a server, you can scoop it up and move it to another machine or move it to the Amazon cloud or the GoGrid cloud, and really, breaks down the barriers of cloud adoption and moving enterprise applications to the cloud.
So there are physical references sometimes, right, from machine to machine. And so the scooping process obviously has to take that into account. What does it do with those references?
So a good example is that is the computer name is a good physical reference. The IP address inside your data center versus inside GoGrid will be different. So those are extracted away, and you can either push those into the cloud environment, so you can change the computer name, or you can change the IP address that you're running in the cloud, or vice versa, they can be pushed into what we call the appliance. So really those physical references are abstracted out and makes it easy to script. One of the things that, in addition to not changing the code, is it fits in with the existing management framework. So if you're using a Tivoli or a CA Unicenter, you don't have to change any of those, that those green, yellow, red lights work seamlessly. There's no recoding to be able to do that.
It's very exciting. It really, I'm thinking of lots of uses, and very excited to see this in action. Good luck.
It's really the next layer beyond hypervisors is really how do I make my applications mobile, how do I save on the software costs and do the software consolidation that everyone understands they're doing with the physical side of the consolidation.
Sure, well now you have the cloud opportunity. The question is, what do you do with all the software that you have to have it take advantage of the cloud? And this seems like a great solution.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks very much.
Thank you.
It was very good. Take care.
This was great. Yeah, you too.